The mic is on.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Can't do that.
I agree.
Appreciate your enthusiasm, baby. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out. My name's Rich, and I'm going to be talking about theoldnet.com. I've got some systems set up for a demo over there if anyone's interested. I just wanted to, I'm a sponsor here. This is the first time I've sponsored a conference, and I'm going to use my rights as a sponsor to plug my stuff, and hopefully you like it. Originally, I did this slide deck. Here, I'm going to skip ahead a couple. No, get back. There we go. So there's this new physical print magazine coming out called Pixel Addict, and it's a follow-up to a successful run of Amiga Addict, which came out last year. And they reached out to me, and we started talking, and I'm going to start doing a monthly column called Welcome to the Old Internet Again. I maintain a wiki online where it has a list of my services and like everybody else's services that I could find that let you use vintage computers for like web browsing and other online connectivity things. So every month I'm going to do a write-up on, this month's going to be my services, next month I'm going to do a write-up on microweb, which is in development web browser for DOS, which is kind of cool. So back it up a little bit. So this is my computer collection at home, and about 2 years ago, 2019, I got tired of just like playing games on them, and I wanted other stuff to do. So I thought, hey, maybe I pull up web pages from the 90s, and I'm sure you guys know of the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine. They've got tons of sites from the internet from 1996 on up. So I'm like, okay, sounds simple. Let's load up Netscape, go to the Internet Archive, and start surfing. So I could, pull up these kind of sites. But there's a bit of a problem there, and that is that the Wayback Machine isn't written for old computers, it's written for new computers. So if you try and load up the Wayback Machine on Netscape 3.0, Internet Explorer 3 or 4, you're going to get all these errors thrown because the JavaScript interpreter is just going to die trying to parse that stuff. So that's where my proxy comes in handy, and I'm going to do a quick little demo of it and go through some of the services I've written over the last 2 years. So here I've got Windows 98 set up in a virtual machine, and in my network settings, I've got a proxy set up here, and I've got a proxy entry pointing to, this is kind of small, I hope you guys can read it, theoldnet.com port 1996. I have a port open from 1996 all the way up to 2010, I think. So whatever port you put in, you're going to be able to browse websites that are an approximate match to that year. So here I am. I like using Nintendo as a demo, but you can see I'm on my 98 VM going to Nintendo.com. And the internet's probably going to cut out because I'm in the middle of doing a presentation. Pretty good. Does this work? Yeah? If I could get the adapter. Yeah, sure. You know what? Maybe I head on over to Chrome for a second. Do I have any internet? Okay, I have some. So just my virtual machine's being kind of weird. But anyway, here's the end result. I go to Nintendo.com. It brings up Nintendo's webpage from 1996. That's through the proxy. Oh yeah, timed out. There you go. But I also have a web portal. You don't have to use the proxy. You can just browse to this web page, and that's where a lot of the cool stuff is. And this works on new computers, and it works on old computers. So just to get the point across, the entire purpose is everything I'm doing is meant to work on old systems, but you can still go there on a new computer too. So here's my main page. One thing I want to highlight is this toolbar that I have that makes it easy to browse through different years. So once again, here's Nintendo.com in '98. Here's Nintendo.com in '97. Provided my internet works, thank you. Actually, I think it's just my VM. I don't even have this. My MacBook's too old. It's even vintage. Yeah, so there you go. But you can see I like using Nintendo as a reference because I can just go through the years and you see like what game are they highlighting, that kind of thing. Kind of gets the point across. So this toolbar works on old systems, even though I'm showing this on Chrome on a new Mac. Let's see, what else do we got? I have a guest book. This one's been pretty popular. Maybe I gotta, oh, that's pretty legible. Sometimes people write nasty stuff in here, but yeah, I really like the guest books. People come and they talk about what system they were browsing, like hello from Windows XP, hello from Mac OS 9.2. This guy's got his socket 478 Celeron, cool. So that's been neat. I got a search engine here. Search engine might be a generous term, now that I think about it. But what it lets you do here, I'll keep sticking with Nintendo. But it's going to return domain names from the archive that match Nintendo. And I guess I didn't explain this. What my service is doing is it's ripping out any JavaScript that would break the browser. It's attempting to rebuild links. Like if you can have some weird conditions with relative paths for links, so I try and redo them. I support other data sources besides the Internet Archive. One I'll give a quick shout out to is ProtoWeb. ProtoWeb is a team of volunteers who are scraping data out of the Internet Archive and like hand assembling the websites back together to try and get all the broken images and download links and all of that working well. So I'm a partner with them, and if they have content in ProtoWeb, that's what you're going to get. And if they don't, then I give you the Internet Archive. So here's your search results. The .coms come straight out of the archive, but then I also have home pages. I wrote a scraper and an indexer for personal home pages. So you've got GeoCities, AOL Member, Zoom, AngelFire, all that sort of stuff. What is this? That's not what I thought it was. Bucket full of Nintendo and PlayStation. Sure. You know, so I should point out the whole reason I made it, I miss websites like this. I don't know, like everyone's just got a Facebook page now. I like when people used to have to, like these are ugly and fantastic at the same time kind of deal. So I really enjoy that. I'll just burn through a couple other quickly. Does anyone remember like VRML back in like, yeah, so I had a lot of fun in VRML back in the day, so I wrote a little gallery and I guess repository. I reached out to the director at the Internet Archive and he got me in touch with, I forget the guy's name now, which is not good, but he wrote the spec for VRML2 and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And he's like, awesome. So he sent me just a zip file full of all the VRML files, or I guess they're WRL files. And I just threw them up on here. And I'm rendering them in two different engines, rendering one in Three.js and one in X3DOM, and neither of them do a good job, so I kept both up just so we could see a side-by-side comparison. Let's get on to the next. I made a Netscape simulator. This was probably harder than it might look. I wanted to make a little tool that works on modern systems that shows you an old browser. And if you watch carefully, when I click on links, Chrome isn't handling that request. Like, so just like in a regular, oh, this is not projecting all the way. Maybe I shrink this down. Something like that. So if you look at the Netscape logo and the bar at the bottom, you're going to see that it actually is like aware of what's going on, like the Netscape thing starts spinning. So my code is go to a page that doesn't work. My custom code is actually intercepting those requests instead of the browser doing it. That way I can do the progress bar and all of that. Looks like I broke something though. I have no idea. Is it maybe the absence of the year? I made a recent change to how timestamps work on the site, so that's probably what broke that. So you see when I manually selected a year, it gives you what you want. I got a chat room. IRC chat's back. If you find me on the internet, my name's Shake with 3 S's pretty much everywhere. But I don't know why it didn't auto-join. Internet issues, that's fine. Yeah, a couple other shout-outs. So there's 2 popular websites by a YouTuber named Action Retro. He's been nice enough to do a couple different YouTube videos about the Wi-Fi modems that I'm selling at my booth. And that got me some good sales. And he is also a developer who's making like vintage website stuff. So the first one he's making is 68k.news, and with his permission I added a little plugin on my site that pulls in some of the top news feeds. But if you don't know, if you're on an old computer, old Mac, you can go to 68k.news and it's a front end for like Google News Reader. And then the other one that he has is called frogfind.com. So my service pulls up old snapshots of websites, whereas Frogfind tries to give you current websites stripped down, right? So, and I have that on the page here. So that's a cool service as well that I recommend you check out. And these are the kind of things that are on my the wiki I was talking about, like just like keeping an index of all these different tools out there, right? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so here's all my social, whatever. We have a Discord channel, which is surprisingly mostly full of like really young people. I found I expected most of the people would be people like us, like people who collect vintage computers, but it's actually a lot of kids. I guess they're like really just curious about what the old internet was, and as a moderator, that's been a bit of a challenge for me because I don't really understand what they're looking for, I suppose. And the last thing I wanted to mention was I've started to take on, oh, hold on. It's gonna work, there we go. So I recently started getting some people, giving some volunteer help because the amount of services I'm working on is just like too much. And one of the things on the backlog was a web ring. I don't know if you guys remember web rings, but you would like make your own banner ad, and the agreement was, I'm gonna put an embed piece of code on my site, and you're gonna put one on yours, and we're all gonna like share each other's stuff, kind of like linking back to each other's page. And I wanna bring that back. And this guy, the Eric Experiment, he's also on YouTube and is also a developer. So that's a bit of a trend I'm noticing too, is like people who are like covering some of the retro content, they're also starting to like build services and stuff. So this guy stepped up and built the web ring, and right now it's just like 5 of us, but you can join, and this is how it looks. Let me type it in right. Yeah, so you get your embed code here, and when you put that in, it's going to render a banner like this, and every time you go to the website, it's going to show somebody else's banner. It uses JavaScript to handle that, but if you're using a browser that doesn't support JavaScript, it does fail back to just a default banner and then like a previous next random button. I think that's it. I think I'll just call it a wrap at that point. So if anyone has any questions or want to check it out, I've got 2 systems that I'm demoing all this stuff on. So, yeah.
So, thank you. Wonderful presentation.
Thanks.
What type of hardware do you need to run? It seems like archiving or translating all this content.
Sure. Like, what am I using for servers?
Yeah.
At this point, basically nothing. Like, I mean, the amount I get a really consistent level of traffic. Like, if I watch my logs, there's always activity, but there's very few spikes. I had a spike yesterday that took the service out for about 40 minutes, and that's the worst it's ever been. So right now I'm running it on a 2-core, 2 gig virtual machine on DigitalOcean. Everything's running in Docker containers. There's like a MySQL database, a Redis in-memory data store. It's just a Node.js web server, a couple Node.js web servers. And what I would do to scale up is I would set up a load balancer. I'd stand probably 3 servers behind that. And then I'd move, my database is running on the same box. I'd move the database onto a dedicated box, and then I'd spin up a passive replica for the database. So in total, it would be a load balancer, 3 front ends, and 2 back ends. And then if I needed more and more scale, you know, it's just add more front ends at that point, right? So, yeah.
And then another question, I was interested by your Wi-Fi and serial adapter.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting concept. I hadn't heard before, and I mean, that's great for our older systems. How far back, like what's the lowest spec system that you tested that on, or lowest spec operating system that you can still use it on?
Yeah, as far as I could tell, that should run on anything that's RS-232 compatible. So they make Wi-Fi modems for Commodore 64 as well. In fact, Ian, red shirt there, has some kits. And that's how I got into Wi-Fi modems, was for Commodore 64. That is a different spec. You need a different modem, but anything that supports a serial interface should work. So it's 9-pin serial for PC. I'm demoing it on a Mac with 8-pin mini DIN, and you need an adapter cable, which are expensive and hard to find. So I'm trying to make that better. I had a factory custom make 100 cables. They're being shipped to me. They were supposed to be here for this event, but it got held up in New York for DHL. So I'm going to be offering those in my store at a price that's lower than other places you can get them at, as well as I have a serial breakout board with little screw terminals. So if you want to make a custom cable, I'm also going to sell those. I bought 100 of those, and I'm trying to keep the price. So the goal is I'm trying not to screw over customers. I want to get that across. I want reasonable prices where it's still like worth my time doing it. And then lastly, I'm selling 9-pin to 25-pin adapters. I bought those in bulk too to try and keep the cost down. But to answer your question, any serial interface, any computer should work for that. Yeah. Everyone, appreciate your attention. That was very kind of you. And yeah, I'll be over there if you guys want to check anything out.